Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. It's Monday, the 17th of April. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. I hope that all of you are feeling good, feeling motivated. If that last little bit of music didn't motivate you, I don't know what will. You should be ready to go. Hopefully you made your bed. Are you the kind of person who makes your bed? Or are you one of those people who you just leave it? However you got up, that's how you leave it. What kind of morning person are you? Making your bed is a good way to set in your mind accomplishing tasks. Think about it. Doesn't seem like much, right? What impact could making my bed have? A real big one. Try that. Try it tomorrow if you remember. Get up, make your bed, and then watch how productive you can be with the rest of your day. But anyway, we're not here to talk about making beds. We're here to talk about books. We're here to talk about writing. We're here to talk about a family's journey on the spectrum. And we have a whole lot of things to learn from a great guest named Meghali Mazumdar. How are you?
I'm doing well.
All right. Good to see you. How you feeling this morning?
Pretty good.
Okay.
I don't like the weather, though.
You don't?
I mean, yeah, it was a pretty big change.
Well, going from all of the beautiful sunshine, the birds chirping, flowers now coming up and blooming.
Exactly.
To this, yeah, definitely. Got outside and the snow was on the cars this morning. Like, wow. So before we get started, I do want to just set the tone here. The book is called "The Girl Who Flaps Her Hands: A Family's Autism Journey," and you were recently at Java Plus.
I was.
What was that like? How was that experience?
It was great. It was my book's first signing event.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people who were there to support me, which was good. And I was also supporting a local business.
Okay.
And there was a great turnout, and I got to talk about the book. And sold a lot of copies. Good.
Very good.
Which is always good. I'm getting the message out there.
Nice. Who are the people who are most responsive to this? Have you noticed that? Like, what's the biggest group of people that are like, wow, thank you for what you're doing and what the book stands for?
Oh, wow. The messages started pouring in probably like about 5 days into, the book release. The book released on February 24th.
Okay.
And I had quotes from the book being sent by different people, readers.
Really?
And then it blew up so there was this post by Autism Speaks.
Okay.
And after that, it just blew up.
Good.
Because, they have a bigger reach. And I had my Insta was flooded with messages from, like these people I didn't even know, these parents were going through the same struggle, and they're like, it really helped me.
Right.
And I mean, which is what I wanted to achieve, which was good to see. So I guess it was people who have experience, who have family members, with autism, or who have friends with autism. And for those people, it really resonated.
I want to read something on the back jacket of the book. What constitutes a perfect family, and what is being normal? Let that sink in for a moment. A perfect family, right? We're growing up thinking about everybody else's family. What is a perfect family? No. What is a perfect family? The perfect family is the family you have. That's what it's about. And that's what's beautiful about that. That's powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what is being normal? Equally as powerful as well. So the time is 8:04 a.m. Good morning, Karina Suarez Darden. Good morning, Aisha Saxon, Maria Saltajerry, George Miles, and Saul Olivas. So many good people here joining us from this book. How long did it take you to write this?
Well, I would say about 2.5 years
Okay.
in total. And that's because, so my daughter was diagnosed 3 years back, and it took me 6 months to, actually accept the diagnosis, which is why it took me 2.5 years to write the book.
Accept. What do you mean by accept?
It's difficult, right? I mean, we all had this notion of, being a perfect family, and you would, as parents, we take great pride in our, in these kids that we
Right.
have, and you would, you would kind of expect them to be a certain way, and I did not accept that. And another thing was that I didn't know what autism was. For me, it was more of the other end of the spectrum, where people with severe autism.
Right.
And when the doctor told me, she wasn't speaking, when she was 3.5 years old.
Right.
And when the doctors told me, I'm like, okay, what is she? You have this future planned for your kids, and suddenly all of that was taken away from me by that one single diagnosis. So for me, it was kind of challenging to accept that
Right.
oh no, my daughter cannot be that. She has to live a normal life because we have this perception of being normal,
Right.
So I was not ready to accept that. But once I got to understand that she is not abnormal, she is different.
Right.
And that is when your journey starts. And I tell a lot of parents that the journey doesn't start when you get the diagnosis. The journey starts when you accept the diagnosis and you are ready to help your kid.
Is it difficult? I mean, you presumably know more parents now that have children who are on the spectrum. Is it, when you talk to those people, what do they tell you about their acceptance? Have all of them had a hard time doing it? Has it been easier for others? And is there some kind of continuity or balance between them?
No, I think most people, I would say about 80% of people that I speak to, they tell me the same thing. They had a hard time accepting it. And it's like they kind of look at their kids and they're like, oh no, this maybe the doctor got it wrong, or it's hard, for you as a parent to kind of accept that.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to achieve. Like, I mean, trying to tell people to be more aware and to tell them that they don't have a defect. They're just born different to what you think, is normal.
Right.
So once you accept that, and then it's, you wouldn't see them in a different light, right? And then you're ready to help them.
So it took 2 years to write the book.
Yes.
Now explain that process. What was day one like? And had you ever written before previously?
So I've been writing, I have a blog, and I've been writing, submitting for newsletters and stuff.
Okay.
And I've been published in a national newspaper back in India. And that was about my experience with the Nepal earthquake in 2015.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A very that was a tragic incident.
It was
a tragic incident.
Yeah, it was. So that was the first time my parents met my husband's parents. So my husband is from Nepal, and we've been together for 10 years up until then, and my parents had not met his parents.
Really?
So they finally agreed.
It had to be awkward.
Be there. It was. I tell you. I mean, and we were all on the third floor of our house, and we all thought we were going to die.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, 9,000 people died in that. In that earthquake. Right. But we survived, and that was traumatic. But I really wanted to tell people what that experience was like. And there was this paper that really liked my article, and they published it.
What was the name of that paper?
It's called the Assam Tribune. So I'm from Assam, which is a state in northeast India. And this is a daily newspaper that is published.
I like international media of all kinds. I like DW, the German media.
Yes.
I like all kind of internet. So I'll check it out. I'll check it out because
Please do.
there is a BBC India.
Yes, I think they have a branch.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll check it out. I like to educate myself on what's going on in the real deal
I'm
right
telling
there.
you, it's eye-opening. I mean, you see things like different cultures and what they perceive as what's right there and what's kind of not acceptable.
The
here.
Assam
It's
Tribune.
The Assam Tribune. Yes.
Okay.
Please
All
check
right.
it out.
So you had been published, so you had the experience of actually writing before.
Yes.
But now you're not writing on an international tragedy. Now you're writing about something personal and family.
Yes.
What was the heavy lifting emotionally to get that done? Because presumably 2 years, it hadn't taken 2 years to write previously, right?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
No.
So what was that like?
I would say it was cathartic because when I started, it started as me wanting to. So the book is divided into 3 parts.
Okay.
And the middle part are 9 lessons that I have learned throughout this process. And I actually started with those.
Okay.
So I just wanted to write down what helped me. Like I was in a position where I had accepted the diagnosis. I was helping her. She's doing great in school, and I thought, let me just write down what I have this habit of writing down notes. Like old school, I still have my pen.
Yeah.
I start
I know.
And I started realizing that these are steps that can actually help people,
Right.
not just me. And I just for me, and then I realized, okay, I can actually put it out there. So, but then those moments before where I didn't know, that she's autistic, where I used to just think that maybe she's just spoiled, she would not wear certain kind of clothes. So there was this wedding in Kathmandu, my husband's sister's wedding, and I was supposed to stay there for 3 days, but I just left after the second day because she wouldn't go to anybody and she would just cry. And I couldn't even use the restroom. Like it was traumatic. And I just thought, she's spoiled. Like, why is she behaving this way? And I didn't understand, right?
Right.
And then there was a time when I had to go back with her alone. My husband was here; he couldn't go back, and I stayed with her in India for like 6 months, and that was equally traumatic because she would just cry out of the blue, and she didn't have her speech. So that's the biggest thing, right? Most of these kids do not have a speech delay. So it's difficult for them to kind of converse with us.
Right.
So I don't know if she's crying. I don't know why she's crying, right?
Right.
So there was a time when she wanted to kind of wanted me to sing a certain rhyme, and it took me 45 minutes to figure out which rhyme she was referring to. And those 45 minutes, she was screaming at the top of her voice.
And how old was she at this time?
She was 2.5 years old.
Okay.
And as a mother, if you are not able to console your child, you feel kind of, like incompetent.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Like, what's wrong with me? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
No, I understand.
Yes.
I'm a parent. It's different from a dad and a mom, but no, I get it.
Yeah, it was hard. So those moments when I kind of I had to recall them to kind of write them, right? So that was like cathartic. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I go through? Like, I wish I had known sooner, and I wish I had that awareness before this.
Right.
So yeah,
That's
that
heavy.
was kind of cathartic.
It's a heavy thing. It is. It's a heavy thing. I remember once upon a time, like, I was at Olive Garden, like, and I had to change my son. He was so young then, and like, so we had to use the bathroom changing station, and like, he wouldn't stop crying, and like, yeah, you're like, what am I doing? Like, right? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I able to live human life and existence? Like, you want to find a hole and just crawl into it.
Yes, no, I agree with you. I've been through them, these kind of moments a lot of times.
So now, was it difficult to do this? It sounds like it, but was there an extra layer of difficulty doing this between also traveling from the United States to India and talk about that? And did that add any kind of other feelings to the book or to the writing process?
Well, I think it kind of helps with a lot of other people, like a lot of immigrants who go through the same journey. Because, I didn't plan to settle down in this country. And one of the biggest reasons that we decided to settle down is because of her.
Okay.
And I truly believe, and I love my country, and I truly believe that in United States is way ahead in terms of supports that these kids can get. And a lot of the other countries, I feel like there's a lot of stigma. There is still stigma here. I wouldn't say that there isn't, but stigma over and India is like, it's a huge country, right? And there's a lot of competition because of the population,
right?
And everyone, like, I grew up in a family where I was expected to be either a doctor or an engineer. Like, that's how it is. That's how you're raised. Like, be competitive. Like, you have to be good in studies. You have to do well in life.
Right.
And I didn't want my daughter going to that.
Sure.
Right. And I didn't want her to grow up in that environment where she's constantly, being challenged.
Right.
And I don't know if she's capable of, living up to that challenge. So we thought, and then we realized that there are so many supports out here that, she can actually flourish here, with her strengths. So coming back and going, yes, it was very difficult. But then I feel it just made me stronger, internally. And a lot of these immigrant families that have the same, dynamics, they understand this, this more than others. Like, you cannot, the living situation, like, you cannot actually stay here until you get a green card, which we didn't have for a long time. The reason why I was traveling back and forth. So, yeah, I think it kind of adds to your the whole struggle. But and I put it out there. It's the book flows in a very particular way, like from the moment I met my husband until we have our daughter. That's the first part, and the second part is the lessons. And there is a suspense out there, where if you see the book's trailer, you would see the suspense. Where it's so I know that's the third part. So you'd have to read the book.
I'm with it. I like that.
To find out.
Ishanvi.
Yes,
that's your daughter's name. Okay.
Yes.
So the can I read what the lesson titles are though?
Of course.
Lesson 1: prepare for a challenging life. That right there, that is a very that'll motivate you. That motivates me to hear that. Lesson 2: stop blaming. No one is responsible. Excuse me. And then there's also underneath lesson 1 is an imperfect life. Underneath lesson 2, a fault in our genes. Lesson 3: acceptance is the key. Reintroducing Ishanvi to family. Lesson 4: focus on support. Generating hope. Lesson 5: highlight the strengths. A positive change. Lesson 6: be kind. The special llama. Lesson 7: embrace your child's individuality and appeal for compassion. Lesson 8: find your inner joy. Finding myself. And lesson 9: celebrate victories. A tubing surprise. Tubing. Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Well, that sounds fun.
It wasn't fun, actually.
Oh, it wasn't.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So
Scratch it up.
So we have this, this tradition. So she's born on July 6th.
Okay.
And both me and my husband, we take a week-long vacation to celebrate her and her birthday.
Okay.
So every year we pick like a nice place where we can go on vacation. The first year we went to Disney because she's a little princess, so we wanted to have that theme. So for her 5th birthday, we went to the Smokies, right? And we had this whole itinerary plan. I'm a very planned person, so I have the whole itinerary on, right? But then and my husband is not. So one day we were crossing a river and he saw these tubers up in the river and he's like, no, let's go do it. I was like, I don't know, like my son was like very young. He was like, 1.5-year-old? And he said, no, we'll manage. So we go. And the people there, they said like to tie our tubes. So we had 3 tubes and my daughter was one because she's like super tall for her age. So they didn't let her like sit with me. She was there, I was there, and my husband had my son. And then we start, right? And then the ripples get worse. And we didn't know that. So her tube kind of topples over.
Right.
And then, but the river is pretty shallow. So, I mean,
this is at Disney?
No, this is at the Smokies.
Oh, the Smokies. Okay, yeah. You said that. I'm sorry.
And she falls down, but she's so tall that she's able to, be above water. But then she doesn't like the texture of the stones, like the pebbles on the bed. And then she's like, no, I'm not standing. Like she got scared. And then that anxiety, like it kind of gets to you. And then she's like, no. And then my husband had to get down. At this point in time, my son was asleep. So I had him. And then my husband got down. And then she wasn't walking. She wanted to be lifted. And my husband kind of lifted her up. And then he said, what do I do? Like, you're not walking the river like this, right? I have to go on the shore. And then he goes to the shore. But then the thing is, the tubes were kind of flowing because it was all collected. So I was flowing with the river. I'm like, what do I do if my son is asleep?
Jump out.
I am scared of water because I don't know how to swim yet.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So, and I'm like, what do I do? And my husband is jump in the river, jump in the river. I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I'm going to drown. And my son's there. I cannot risk his life. And then at the end, he was like, no, you have to do it. I mean, we cannot risk. I mean, and we were like halfway down it. There was no way we could reach the end or reach the beginning of it.
Right.
I'm like, what do I do? And then he's like, just jump.
Right.
And I had my son. I jumped. And I was, I'm alive. And then he woke up and he was crying. And then somehow I managed to hold the tubes. And then my husband walked. And I walked to the shore. And then he walked there. And then he took one tube, and then my daughter was in one tube, and then we were silent the entire time, the second half, post that. And once we reached, and Ishanvi realized that we were all silent, like we were not having fun anymore or something. And then she got down, and she's like, the first thing she said is, Mama, I'm such a brave girl. And then all of my anger and all of my worry just like flew away when she said that. She saw that experience as, oh, I fell down, but I was okay. And then I was rescued by my parents, and I was brave enough to kind of do this, the whole thing, right? And I realized, that's how I look at life. Like, there will be challenges and there will be things that don't go the way that you have planned. But as long as you're okay and as long as you see it as an experience and not do it again, you're fine. You'll be fine.
Was that the last tubing experience?
Yes, it was. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be doing that again.
Well, it's amazing what you can do when it's an emergency, though, right?
Yes.
It's amazing
The
what
reflexes.
you can. It's amazing, like what you can do when your life depends on it. You will be surprised.
It is.
The time is 8:20. Gabriel, please take us to a commercial. That's an amazing story, though. It brought back my tubing experience. I couldn't swim the first time I got into a tube either. Oh. Right? I didn't think about it.
Okay.
I thought, it's gonna be fun. Oh, you do the tube, you get a little splashy splash. No, I didn't think like, wait a minute. There's only me and a life vest, and I can't, like, this is serious. Like, what if I can't swim and the current's too fast and I cut myself on the rocks and there's no body to, this was in Wisconsin. It wasn't like everybody who was part of it was like a Boy Scout leader, troop guy who could swim.
Okay.
I just got in, I just was like, I want to do it. Like, all right.
That mine can be tricky, like that what if.
Exactly.
That is what kind of, you need to take care of.
You have to think about that.
Yep.
All right. I got a couple of those pieces of news to deliver here real quick. So first of all, this qualifies as that thing, Gabriel. Alternative Fuel Night, sharing struggles and finding solutions. That's going to be Saturday, April 22nd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. This is going to be presented by Help Sorry Love. Church of the Good Shepherd, UMC, in Oswego is the place, 5 West Washington Street. So you have to RSVP with the name and number of attendees to office@goodshepherdoswego.org. That's easy. You guys can remember that. Office@goodshepherdoswego.org. I'll also post about this later on today. Live praise music, mental health, education, health and nutrition, and young adult perspectives will be the topics of a great inspiring panel of speakers as well. And once again, the event is sponsored by Help Sorry Love, not-for-profit, and the Church of the Good Shepherd. Brett Putton, if you would do us a solid, young man, give us some 2 pieces of news that you have, and then look us up, my brother.
Please. Mental health salutum. Mental. Join us to talk about the stigmas of mental health, where you can get help and the signs to look out for. It's happening tomorrow, actually, Tuesday, April 18th at 10 to 11 a.m. at 550 2nd Avenue in the lovely city of Aurora, Illinois. And you need to RSVP to CVAIGAS, CVAIGAS at family-focus.org or call 630-256-7013. Again, 630-256-7013. The Youth and Family Resource Fair is happening Thursday, April 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Briscoe Community Center on 150 West Illinois Avenue. More than 45 organizations, programs, and activities for youth this summer bring the whole family. Door prizes include a Nintendo Switch bundle, TV, iPads, gift cards, and more.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Zora Zapata is here. Good morning to you, Zora Zapata. Zora Zapata is a dear friend of ours, and she is the namesake of Zora Zapata Handcrafted. Get in touch with her for all kinds of cool things. She does this paint and sip, amongst other things, and they paint jackets, and they paint faces. They paint. The only thing they don't paint is houses. So if you're looking to get your decoration on, be on the lookout for Zora Zapata handcrafted activities. Take me back to a commercial, young man. Josie Mendoza-Geller is here. Good morning, Josie. Josue Pais, good morning. Michael Rayford, good morning. Ali Hernandez is here. Good morning. Bianca Camargo, Tammy Thomas, Zaida Rodriguez, Medea is here. Good morning, Sunshines. Right back at you. Giovanni Benigno. did I pronounce that right, Giovanni? I know I got the first part right. I want to be right when I do people's names. You know, I feel bad if I massacre somebody's name live on air. You know, Stefan, it's Steven. Oh, who knew? My bad. Tracy Duran's here. Good morning. And D. Hackala. Maria says, I love to go tubing, but it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Well, we can all, maybe we should all go as a family, right? Maybe do a trip. We can all take a trip together and we'll hold hands as we go tubing. So the book took 2 years to write. How did you come up with the title, The Girl Who Flaps Her Hands? What's the significance of that?
Well, so yeah, it is super significant. So a lot of kids, like actually every kid on the spectrum has a specific, trait, right? For my daughter, like if you look at her, you cannot tell that she's autistic, right? Until she starts flapping her hands, just like what she does to simulate herself, like it's too much. Oh, like there is a lot of light coming in, there are a lot of people there, and she kind of doesn't know, like you and I, we can process things differently, right? So like, we're not bothered by if there's too much sound, there's too much light, but for her it's a lot. So to kind of regulate herself, she'll start flapping her hands, and that is when people start looking at her weird. So I always felt like in social situations, people are like, people are okay, like sitting at the table, and then once she'll start flapping, that is when people's kind of expressions change. So I want to tell people that she flaps her hands, and that's okay.
Right.
She can do that. And for people to react better to that, for people to understand that, okay, that is something that she needs. Like I drink a sip of water if I'm too thirsty, or like, I kind of like do a meditation or something, or say a prayer or something, to kind of calm myself down. But for her, that is what she does, and that's absolutely okay. Right. So yeah, that is why I named it
The Girl Who Flaps Her Hands.
Yeah.
Ishanvi was a physically normal baby. I had a normal pregnancy. Pravin was living in the U.S., and I was in India, so I traveled a lot, but it never bothered us. We're connected by love, willing to do anything to make our family work. As a family, when you guys are all together and everything, we started off this conversation about the acceptance. Okay. Did you notice the acceptance getting better gradually? Was it sudden?
For myself?
Yes.
Yes, I would say. So Praveen kind of is a very practical person. So he kind of knew beforehand, like there's something wrong, right? Like we need to figure out what it is. Like we need to help her.
Acceptance was easy with him.
With him, yes. It was like instant. And I was kind of angry at him for that. Like, I mean, this is our child. Like, how could you accept it so well? Because I didn't know, right? I mean, but for me, I think it took me a longer time because, and I talk about it in the book, it's probably because I feel more responsible. And I had her, in my womb for 9 months, right? And I feel more responsible for her than probably him. So, yes, but it kind of got better gradually. Now that I see her, like, doing so well in school, she still has the struggles, but, we kind of work our ways, work through it.
How old is she now?
She is going to be 7 in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, 2nd grade. She'll be a 2nd grader next fall.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it's gotten better. Now I don't look, I mean, I kind of, accepted it wholly, I guess. And and she's my daughter, like that's not going to change, right? I mean, she's her own individual, like just like you and me, like we are different individuals,
right?
So yeah, I'm okay with that.
Is there any we talked about services in India. What have you noticed in the amount of or the access to services from then till now in India? What's that like? Because, and I asked that specifically because I have a few friends of Indian descent who I talk to and everything like that. I've never been to the country, but I've been fortunate to hear great things about it and everything. So I am curious because you are only in our 3 years of doing this coming up very soon. You are the second person of Indian descent who've had the pleasure of interviewing, who's been, in both places. So what have you noticed? Are things getting better there? Is there more access? Are things opening up?
Yeah, that's a good question because so when she was diagnosed, right, at that time, I think there was the awareness then and the awareness when I visited there like 2 years hence. Yeah, it has changed. I mean, there is access to resources has increased, and especially in the cities. India is a vast country, right?
Right.
Just like
Huge
America,
country,
right?
yes.
And the facilities in the cities is much, better, more advanced than they are in the smaller cities or in the villages.
Right.
I feel the awareness is still lacking in a lot of villages, and a lot of it has to be attributed to lack of education,
Right.
and lack of awareness in general. But in the cities, so when I was in Assam the last time I traveled, because I talk so openly about this, a lot of people like through context, right? Like that's how I meet people. Like I tell somebody, they tell somebody, oh, like you're going to this. Let
Right.
me connect with you. So that's how I meet a lot of these families, and I connected with a lot of families during my visit to Assam. This was last year, and a lot of these families, because they travel to different parts of India, like bigger cities,
Right.
like there's Bangalore, there's Delhi, like New Delhi, and to kind of get them, evaluated, right? So I think the access to resources has definitely increased, and India is it's a developing country. It's a great country, and as and when there is more awareness, there is the facilities and the doctors and these therapies, access to therapies, that are kind of increasing. So I'm happy to see that, right? I
Right.
mean, the kids that are there, they also deserve these kind of therapies that, or any other interventions that are able to help them with their strengths.
So now that she's 7, what's her awareness been like? Has she developed into as in a is she what I'm trying to?
No, I get it. So the difficult part for me is now she can read. So the other day she was at her therapy center and she's like, "Mama, why am I in therapy?" Because she could read
Right.
the name,
Right.
and the board, like big therapy. So I used to tell her, like, you go to 2 schools. I used to tell it like it's a school. Like you go to your school, your elementary school, and you go to a different school because you're too smart. So you need 2 schools, like you have to go to 2 schools. And now she's like, oh, I go to 1 school and then I go to therapy. I'm like, yeah, so that's like therapy is kind of a school because they're teaching you stuff that they don't teach you in your other school, right? So that's what I tell her. I mean, I don't think she has the the sense right now, but eventually she will, and we are prepared for that, to tell her that this is what it is, and it doesn't make you any different. You're a Shanvi. That's not going to change. You're
Right.
still a little girl, and I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm dreading for that conversation, but yeah, I think I'm prepared for it.
You are prepared for her.
Yes.
What are you gonna say?
Well, I'm just going to say that you were meant to be my daughter. And it's true, right? So I was like, growing up, I was super competitive, like not mean, I would say, but like super competitive. Like I wouldn't really care. And after I had her and after the diagnosis, I am a changed person. Like, I see the world, differently than I used to see before. Like, I vouch for kindness and I want to go out there and tell people to be more kind. There are a lot of stories, local stories in there in the book. After you were reading the lessons, right? And there was another thing
Yes,
down below. So
underneath the
those are
lessons.
real like stories from our life that kind of complement the lesson itself. So there were a lot of stories from the community where I tried to reach out to a lot of people, and then there was, there was big changes.
Well, one of them, lesson 8, finding your inner joy. So the lesson then would have been finding myself. What was that? And I noticed though too that finding myself is way into it. So, I mean, we've passed generating hope and positive change, but then we get to finding myself. So it seems intentional.
So yeah, it is intentional. I'll tell you why. Because that's how I feel a lot of women, deal with their own stuff. Like everybody is before you, right? Your kids, your husband, your family, and everything. And then you come, you're not your priority, and that's what I tell women, like, you need to work on yourself. It's not just like, I mean, yes, you need to, kind of take care of your family, and you have responsibilities, but you also have responsibility towards yourself. Self-care, super important, right? For me, yes, that came in last because, after I was, like mentally and emotionally ready to accept the diagnosis and help her, that's when I realized, like, I wasn't taking care of myself for those 2 years, not at all. And I felt like, I used to look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, okay, this is not the person that I was, right? Like, what have I done? And then slowly, and again, I feel like your partner understanding here is super important. So Praveen's like super supportive. So I do like storytelling. I go for other events, and I go out. I have a book club, a very famous book club, in the community, and I do a lot of work with them, and it keeps me busy,
Right.
but it also keeps me happy. I dance, another thing that I do and I love to do, and I'm getting back to those things that I used to love doing, like, and individually, not as a family. And it keeps me happy, and it's okay. Like, sometimes I feel mom guilt is like super real. Like, you would feel like I would go out and I would be like, okay, what are they eating well?
Yeah.
Is he feeding them? Is he eating well? I mean, all those things, like, they're always constantly, like, on your mind as a woman.
Right.
And I don't want women to feel that guilt anymore. It's unnecessary, and it's kind of you go into that hole where, like, you don't enjoy. You're not in that moment. Like, you're going out to enjoy, right? And then you're worried. And then that's not enjoyment. Like, you're not in that moment.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Like, I'm with you right now. I'm enjoying this, right? My husband is getting the kids ready for school, and
hopefully he's enjoying that.
Yeah. I mean,
He better be.
Hopefully, yeah. But yeah, that's it. Right? Like, I'm having my moment, and I'm enjoying it, right? And he supports me, and he's taking care of his kids, his kids as well. So, and that's okay, right? And I see a lot of women are like burdened by a lot of work. Like, they go to work, they do the housework, they take care of the kids, they drive the kids to their extra classes and all of that stuff. And sad to see that a lot of these partners, they don't help that out, help out a lot. And it's kind of sad, but I'm trying to change that. Like, I always tell Praveen as an example, like, he cooks, he doesn't clean. Okay, that's one thing that I want him to do, but he helps out in everything equally. Like, we're equal, we're partners, right? So we are equal. Like, there are a lot of things that he's good at, a lot of things that I am good at. So we kind of divided like that. But no role in our house is gender driven. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's
absolutely.
not like I don't have to be in the kitchen.
Right.
And there was this thing where, like, I bought my daughter a kitchen as a gift, and my son plays there more than my daughter. And
like the setup kitchen thing?
Yes,
okay, yeah.
yes,
Fisher
my
Price.
son plays my son plays there. And then I was on a video call with one of my relatives back in India, and she was like, "Oh, why is he playing in the kitchen?" I'm like, "That's okay. Like, he wants, maybe he wants to be a chef. Who knows?"
Right, yeah.
So that's okay. Like, there is no, like, we're in, like, 2023. Like, things have changed, right? We need to evolve.
Okay. Now, since you brought that up, this is where the conversation gets colorful.
Mm-hmm.
We need to change. We need to evolve. Right? We bought the package is marketed for the kitchen. It's marketed for the girls, but the boys planning maybe we want to be a chef. Right? The big wheel truck thing is marketed for the boys, but the little girls in it. Maybe she would, right? Girls need to know how to drive.
Yeah, they do.
I'm wondering what keeps. We're talking about we need to evolve, Jim, but that's not happening. Is it perhaps cultural and ethnic pressures that keep us in these spinning wheels, right? Are we people who keep doing what our grandparents used to do 50 years? Is that what it is?
Yes, I think a lot of it has to do with that.
Because that's what I think it is too.
Yeah.
I've never traveled overseas to India and different places, the people I meet, but I'm aware that not just my culture, right? We keep doing what our parents did, what their grandparents told them, and nothing is changing. That's why, something's wrong with him.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yes.
He's the bad one. You had 3 good ones, now this one,
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
What can we, right? And it's our own people. What can we do? Maybe that's not a question that we can answer in the next, X amount of minutes, but I think that's kind of what it is. Or in your opinion, what do you think?
I feel like a lot of people tell me, like, what can you do? Like, are you even relevant enough to bring about change? And I tell, yes, every little act matters. You don't know the ripple effects of kindness or generosity. There is no knowing to what value you bring to things, even unknowingly, right? And I'm doing this like being very aware. I'll tell you an example. Before she was starting kindergarten, right, I was like super nervous. Like, oh, what is she, 8 hours of school? Like, how is she going to manage that age, right?
Yep.
I'm like, oh, she doesn't speak. Like, she doesn't have the speech yet. If she needs to go even to the restroom, she may not be able to tell her teacher, like, what's going to happen. So I was so worried. And I'm like, okay. And then I realized, okay, what do I do? And then I emailed her principal, right? And I told her, like, you know what, I introduced my family, and like, she's going to be in school next year. And I'm super worried, but I'm hoping this is a good district, right? And I'm hoping she's being taken care of, but these are her strengths and these are her weaknesses. But I started the email with her strengths. Like, this is a Shabi, she loves, animals, and she loves traveling and all that stuff. And then the principal, she called me right away, like right at the moment she got the email, she called me and she's like, it is so nice to meet you. And I love the fact that you started your email telling me about your daughter's strengths. That is what I want people to do. What you are as a person, for me to know you, it'll be nice for me to kind of look at you in a positive light and understand what your strengths are. Because, everybody has weakness, everybody has flaws, no one is perfect, right? But if you remember everybody by their strengths, you can actually, utilize it.
Right.
Right. And it's a big,
Absolutely.
It's a big thing. So now when we
Big.
start meetings,
Big.
that's what she said. Like, when we start, and this happened after, like, there was an IP meeting, and they started, like, the first slide was Shanvi's strengths. And I don't know, it was because I had that conversation with the principal, but that's what it is being done now with across the school. Like, all the meetings that are, like, with these kids, they start with all this presentation. They start with the slide that says that kid's strengths.
Right.
It's a small thing, but it has bigger impact, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Same was the case when, same thing. Like, I was worried, so I reached out to the principal, and then I reached out to this community of moms that I'm part of. Like, it's a huge community, like 30,000 people, and I told them, like, your kids are going to school next year. Can you have a conversation with them about the friends in school not looking like them? They may not talk like them. They may be quieter. They may be more chirpy. They may not even walk like them.
Right.
To have those conversations and tell them each of these kids have the potential to be your friends.
Right.
And I had like almost 100 people messaging me, telling me that, oh, we had that conversation with our kid. It was such a big thing. Like,
Absolutely.
To kind of, that acceptance, right? And see, we have grown up, like, we have lived half our life, but these kids, we need to instill good values to our kids.
Absolutely.
So that these kids are accepted. Like, they need to know, like, I don't look like you, right? And that's okay. But, we're having good conversation, it's, you need these kids to understand that, like, because first of all, they're innocent. They don't see it that way.
Right.
But for you to tell them this, like, be friends with everybody. Like, maybe there's a quieter one in the lunchroom. Like, why don't you go and speak to them, that
Right.
person? Like, maybe, like, she needs help or something. So you need to tell the kids, like, we need to raise a generation who have evolved.
Absolutely. No, that's such a fact. That's such a fact.
Yes.
My son, we had my son is 10. So this would have been like, last year, but he asked me in a roundabout way, like, it's talking about the kids in the school, who's performing well, who's not. And it kind of got into like race and everything like that. He started, he started poking the fringes. And I thought about what my grandmother told me when I was 10.
Okay.
And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to tell my son what my grandmother told me when I was 10 about white people and other people in the world. I'm not going to, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So what I did was I said, I stuck with the more, because he was talking about kids who like are there. He's helping some kids learn a couple things because they're not doing it really fast. So I stayed there. I said, listen, whoever's not performing well, help them out.
Right.
The kids who can't make it, right? The last kid who's running, struggling, trying to make it across, make sure that he makes it.
Right.
Be the kind of person who makes sure the other kid can find a way on the. I stayed there. You know what? I'm not even gonna do that right now. I'm gonna do something better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it. Right.
See, that's changed.
We'll get there. If he tries it again at 12 or 13, we'll be ready for that. But right now, I'm not gonna do that.
These kids need to know the sense of community.
Right, because they're not as dumb as we think they are. They know what's happening.
No, yeah, they know what's happening. We need to tell them, like, when you grow, you need to help others grow as well.
Absolutely.
That's what makes a garden.
That's
a garden is not made by just one flower.
That's a fact.
It looks more beautiful if all the flowers, like the bigger, more flowers. In the
right,
garden,
because if it was a garden with one flower, I mean, that would be a pretty weak garden.
Exactly. Exactly.
You need more flowers over there. But yeah, no, it is a spectrum of colors.
It is, yeah.
That's what makes it pretty. It's called a prism, not a prison.
Exactly.
Time is 8:45. Gabriel, take us to a commercial, please, young man. Would you do that for us? Deb Lorenz is here. Good morning to you, Deb Lorenz. Solo Levis is here. Nicole Astra. Wendy Connell is here. Jen Mendoza. Good morning, Jen Mendoza. Trishna Niog is here. Good morning. Soul says, I just spoke to my class about autism and watching a video from Sesame Street with Julia. Teaching acceptance at a young age is very important, in my opinion. It's okay to be different. That's very true. Gonzalez Divya, good morning to you. Okay, I got something to tell you guys about then. Greg, scratch it up. I put Brett and Gabriel together and made Greg. Who the heck is Greg? Everybody like, who is Greg? How many employees do we have in here? Okay, hang on a second here. All right, here we go. I was going to do this today. So over the weekend, our dear friends, State Representative Barbara Hernandez and Circuit Clerk Teresa Barrero held the first of 2 Kane County expungement clinics to assist Kane County residents with expunging or sealing records. The second is going to be on September 9th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Gale Borden Public Library, 270 North Grove Avenue in Elgin. For more questions, you can email circuitclerk@co.kane.il.us. Now, we have posted the flyer about that. We will repost the flyer and share that so that you guys can reach out. I encourage you to register. It's in September. Do it now. I know what you're thinking. I'll just go there early. No. There's a line. So do that September 9th, 9 a.m. to 11 o'clock a.m. Brett, give us the news that you got, young man. The time is 8:47 a.m.
Free glucose testing, free blood sugar screenings are available from 8 to 10 a.m. on Wednesdays on a first-come, first-served basis at Rush Copley Diabetes Center. If you need help in monitoring your blood sugar, please stop by. For more information, call 630-898-3649. Again, 630-898-3649. Every Wednesday, 8 to 10 a.m.
That's right.
And then the Everyday Heroes Breakfast is happening on Friday, April 28th from 7 to 8:30 a.m. at the Briscoe Community Center. And it is a celebration of scouting and its impact on the community. It's hosted by Ottawa District 3 Fires Council, the Boy Scouts of America. And then recognizing honorees from Aurora. The guest speaker is Patrick Perez. He is an Aurora native. And he is a former Kane County Sheriff. He served as the Kane County Sheriff from 2006 to 2014.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And good morning to Emily and Zenloff. Good morning. Gitashri Chakravorty. Good morning. Anakshi. Good morning. Maria Saltajerry is here. Good morning, Maria Saltajerry. She says, being a stepmom of a special needs child who is primarily in my care, I understand the fear as a parent that society/children will treat our kids unfairly. Yeah. The question from children and some adults, like, what's wrong with him, can be very jarring, but I've learned to be nicer in my response. Ajanta Talukdar Sharma says, good morning, Meghali. Dan Barrero is here, and Gloria Gerardo. All of you great people are here. The time is 8:49 a.m. So, your daughter is 7 now.
She will be 7 in July.
She will be 7. She will be 7 in July. And she is doing well in school. As you mentioned, she started reading.
Yes.
And also doing therapy, though, as well. That's still going on?
It is still going on, yes.
Okay. Now, you did mention being ready to have that conversation with her about why she's in therapy when the time comes. I'm wondering, and I know that you'll be aware of and cognizant as well. Do you ever see a point where she will, perhaps is that the goal, to get her out of therapy, and maybe that conversation won't happen? Or, and I say that with the greatest respect, because my son is not special needs. So I'm on the outside looking in with that as a parent. But I ask, like, is that a possibility or something that you are?
Yes, I think we have had that conversation a number of times. So thing is, when she started, right, we didn't have, it was COVID time, and we didn't find anything local. So we had to drive to Willowbrook, some 25 miles from our house, 5 days a week. And it was kind of difficult, right? I mean, making that drive every day. And then we moved to Naperville, which is closer, still like a half an hour drive. But I feel like, with her, she's growing, right? And a lot of the skills she has already, kind of developed. We still need to work on a lot of things, for which the reason why she's still there. But eventually, I think as a parent, I would want her to be in like social skills groups, where because it's a spectrum. Look, every kid has a different trait, but one thing common with a lot of these kids is that they struggle socially, to interact, right? So I would probably prefer her to be in like a social skills group where she has peers and she can interact with, and she knows like, how to respond, to certain questions, rather than being in therapy where she's taught a certain skills, that's the goal. But probably I would say 2-3 years down the line, we will be ready to move her out of therapy.
Okay. Where can anybody purchase the book?
Oh, okay. So it's on a lot of platforms. So it's on Apple Books. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. What else? I'm trying to think. Yeah, everywhere you can get like most of these websites. It's available
Around the world.
Around the world, not just in US. Everywhere.
That's that song, right?
Yes.
That's the That's the part I like. I like the doot doot part. But anyway, here's the book. You guys can see it right here. There's a cover. The Girl Who Flaps Her Hands. Okay. All right. Where is your next event? Where will you be? Where you can be doing any more of book signings, meet and greets, networking events, or anything of the sort?
Yes. So there is this business in downtown Naperville. I don't know if you know about it. There is this mom. She's now a friend. Her son is autistic, and she runs a business, and she hires kids with special needs, which is another conversation that I have a lot of parents with. Elder kids, like what's after high school,
right?
And I had another conversation with one of Shanvi's teachers, preschool teachers, and she had the same feeling. She's like, I want to start something like where we can hire these kids, right? Because they need, to be able to. That's the first thing that strikes women. Like, what if, like, what after I'm gone? I'm supporting her. Like, if I'm not going to be there forever, right? So she needs to be able to fend for herself. At least, kind of, have a job and kind of pay for it is. And so this lovely lady, she has this business, and I am thinking of having an event there, the next book signing there, to kind of promote her business, and as well as promote the cause that she's in. Hers and our causes are pretty similar, right? We are kind of supporting these kids that need all the help in the world, and I'm hoping to have that. I still need to figure out the details. I don't have the date yet, but probably soon. I'll keep you posted.
Okay. All right. And you are on Facebook and Instagram?
I am, yes.
Okay.
I am, yes.
What's your title on Facebook and Instagram? How can the folks find you?
It's Meghali Mazumdar author.
Okay.
Like it's Meghali _Mazumdar /author. That's the Instagram. And my Facebook is just Meghali Mazumdar. And just my name.
Okay.
First names. Also, I have another thing. On May 6th, so there is this, you said about culture, like you want to learn about different cultures. This will be probably perfect for you. There is this Apida Arts Festival in Chicago for 3 days. Okay. It's a free festival, and there is, so they promote Asia Pacific Islanders, Desi, which is, Indian accent, decent people. So they are promoting, storytellers, artists, of these descents in here. And it's a 3-day program. So I'm going to be there on the second day. I'm going to be speaking at the Goodman Theater.
The Goodman Theater. Okay.
Yeah, it's from 3:45 to 4:45 p.m.
All right. May
But they
6th.
have a different, but they have different, like things going on. And there's dances. Have you watched Community?
Community. No, I have not.
Okay, sorry.
No, I have not.
That that show. I forgot his name. The actor, he's going to be there as well, representing. And he has a movie screening on one of those days. So he's going to be there in as one of the panels. I think that's on the 3rd day.
It's a 3-day.
It's a 3-day event. It's a free event, but you do have to register though.
Okay.
Like, you just go to your website and you can pick anything. Any of the shows that you like.
And what's the website?
Apida Arts. APIDA Arts. ARTS.org. I think.
Wonderful. Wendy Connell, thank you very much for that. Thank you for that invitation. That's very cool because I'm interested to know because I see a lot of events and things like that, and I would like to interview and learn from other members of other communities that the growing Asian community. I think the Asian community is the number one. The fastest growing community in Aurora.
Yes.
In Aurora.
Yes.
So I see these things and I want to bring the camera out and check it out. So I'd like to make those connections. So thank you very much.
Of course.
I appreciate that. The time is 8:55. Did we get everything? What did we miss? Is there another book coming out? Is there a part 2?
Currently I'm working on a children's book because some of these stories people really like, and I want to convert one of these stories to a children's book. Again with a message for kids to understand, and this is for adults, it's not for kids, right? So that would be more of acceptance for in maybe a school set, where they understand. One specific one is where so my daughter was bullied last year. That was the first experience we had, and it was crazy. I picked her up from summer camp, and the people there, they said she was bullied, and then my first question was, did she retaliate? And they said no, she was a good girl, she didn't do anything. And then I sat in the car, and then she kept mentioning the kid, and she said why did he do this, Mama? Why did he do this? And I I took a moment and I thought out of all the bad things that she can say, she has the right to be angry, right? She could say anything, but she kept asking, why did he do it?
Right.
And then I realized that that this is my moment, I cannot screw this up. So I tell her, you know what, he might be having a bad day, and he meanness is often a sign of weakness. So
right.
Maybe he was feeling weak for some reason, right? And that is why he did that to you. It had nothing to do with you.
Right.
Just need to remember that. Every time there's a situation like this, you need to remember it has nothing to do with you. It is the other person. It's the bully.
Right.
Right. It's always about the bully. So that incident kind of really resonated with a lot of people because, it's the world that we are living in now. So I probably want to convert that story into a children's book where people, it's important for kids to understand that, what they're doing. Right.
Right.
So, yeah, that's probably my next book.
All right. Well, we look forward to that.
Thank
and we'd
you.
like you to come back and talk about that book when it happens.
I
That would
will.
be awesome. Guess who's back, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the time is 8:58 a.m. It was great talking to you, very much so. Folks, once again, the book is The Girl Who Flapped Her Hands. You guys can be sure to check it out and follow Meghali Mazumdar, author, on Facebook and also Instagram. So the show ends on a positive note. What is your message today for the listeners?
Message. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Super important. I have this thing where I do 3 things every day to help others, anything small, maybe help my husband with something, with an email that he wants to write, or reach out to someone that I haven't reached out to, and I reach out to someone that I know is sick. 3 good things that you can do to make somebody feel visible.
Right. Very good. That's a great message. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. That's kind of like what I tell you every day before the show ends.
Oh, you
Take
do?
care of yourself. Yes, I do. I do. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing, which I was like, should I say my part or should I just not say nothing?
Oh my gosh,
Just
did
let
I
that-
steal your thunder?
No, you're all good. It's our storm. It's our storm. Thunder and lightning. We can do our own radio show.
Oh yeah,
You're watching Thunder and Lightning right here on in Aurora. Well, once again, Meghali Mazumdar, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you
on
so
to the
much
show
for
today.
having me. It was an honor.
Yep, and we'll be following the progress, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now you can take care of yourself and each other.